The Author Switch.
Hello and welcome to the Author Switch, the podcast dedicated to helping aspiring and new authors turn on the author switch to success in their minds. This is lucky episode 13. If you missed any episodes, especially episodes 3, 5, 7, 9, and I don't have 11 fingers, in October, December, January, February, and March, go to authorswitch.com to find them. I'm your host, Carma Spence, author of 5 books, including the best-selling Public Speaking Superpowers and the now in pre-order second edition of Home Sweet Homepage. Now, you may be wondering why I emphasize those odd-numbered episodes. Well, that's because in those episodes, I talked about the Authorneer's journey. And in this episode, I am going to continue that journey. This is part of an 8-episode arc, an 8-episode series all about the Authorneer's journey from the start to the finish. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about part 6, which is pre-publishing. Now, each episode can stand on its own, but it is better if you hear them all together. So if you missed any of those, please go to authorswitch.com and catch up. But let's move forward anyway with pre-publishing. And another note, if by chance you are listening to the audio-only version, this episode is a little different because I'm going to be talking a little bit about visuals, about the cover design and the interior design. I do have some visuals to show. So if you are listening to the audio version, I highly recommend that you go to authorswitch.com and check out the video version because it will be posted to the episode page. So first, what do I mean by pre-publishing? I've talked a bit about this before in earlier episodes of this series, but this is the phase where you really get the work done after writing. This is where you get your cover finalized, your content edited and designed, and then proofed again. All the pieces of your book come together in this beautiful package that is ready for your readers to enjoy. So here's an example. My latest book, Home Sweet Homepage. So I wrote the manuscript and now it's this beautifully designed book with this interior and this cover and all the pieces are together and it's ready for me to go, here it is for my readers. Now, if you're working with a publisher, they would handle all this. You wouldn't have to deal with it. You would just give them the manuscript and they would run with it. And then you might proof it once in a while just to make sure that it was what you wanted it to be. However, if you are a self-published indie author, you're in charge of all this stuff. So what do? Well, here's how I did it for my latest book, Home Sweet Homepage. Oops, towel. Here's how I did it for my latest book, Home Sweet Homepage. And again, if you're listening to this episode, I recommend you stop and check the video version because now I'm going to start sharing some slides because this information is quite visual. All right, so first let's talk about the cover. Now with most of my books, I did all the design work. I designed the cover, I designed the interior. But with this last book, Home Sweet Homepage, I decided I wanted to get it professionally designed because I was really, really struggling with taking the cover to the next level. The cover design for the first edition of Home Sweet Homepage, I was happy with it, but it had gotten a lot of comments that it was too feminine. And I knew I wanted it to look a little bit more professional, I guess. And I was trying all these different techniques and I was trying all these different styles and I was really struggling it. I could not come up with a cover I liked. So I thought, okay, I can't spend any more time on this. I need to just have someone else do it. So I went to 99designs.com and here, It's by Vistaprint. And the way this website works is that, well, you can go there and you can hire a freelancer directly. But the way I like to use it, and this is the way I did it for Home Sweet Homepage, is you hold what's called a design contest. You write up your brief. You basically say, these are the kinds of fonts I want. This is the colors I'm looking at. These are the kinds of books I like, book covers I like. This is what the book's about. And you fill out this information about what you're looking for. You don't want to be too specific because you want to give the designers some leeway to give you their best creativity, because you want them to surprise you a little bit, because you never know what's going to come out. And you fill out this brief and you come out. So look at some of the things I got. I mean, I was amazed. And these are only some of the ones I liked, because I got way more. But I got all these designs and I was like, wow, how do I choose which one? I'm like, well, I like that one. Ooh, and I like that one. And oh, it was so hard for me to choose which one I liked. And so one thing that's really cool about 99 Designs is, as you're going through this process of choosing the ones you like and trying to just come up with the one, because you don't want to have more than one cover, you can hold what's called a poll. And you can share that poll with your social media following, which is a great way to get your readers excited about your forthcoming book. Here's an example of some of the voting that happened, the comments that I got on this one particular cover. And it's really cool because you get your readers involved, your potential readers involved. They feel like, oh, I'm part of this book, so maybe they might be more likely to buy that book. Plus, you get some feedback on what's going to make a good cover that will entice actual people who will actually buy your book, on what will compel them to buy your book. So you finally get your design, you've chosen your cover, and you get your designer, and then you work with your designer to finalize the copy, the cover design. Now, there are some pitfalls that you want to avoid, because I fell into a couple of them. Now, that said, I got a fantastic designer and she was amazing and I love my design. But here are some tips that I learned that I want to share with you if you're going to go with 99 Designs. One, if you can wait until the interior is done to hold your cover design, I recommend you do so, because the number of pages of your book affects the design. With the way 99 Design works, they want you to get your files after X number of days after the contest is done. And some designers won't wait past that to give you your files. And if you don't know how to use Photoshop and therefore modify the files that they give you, you're kind of screwed. And you'll have to pay them more money later to modify the files to fit your book. So I highly recommend waiting until your interior is done, so that you can say, okay, my book is X number of pages. They'll design the cover the right way the first time and it's done. Also, you want to make sure that the designer does not give you the final covers until the interior is done, if for some reason you haven't gotten the interior done first. So if your interior is not done, put it in the brief that they have to wait. And then you keep in contact with them through another way. And you may have to pay them an extra like $100 in order to get them to do that. And also be very clear up front with the formats that you're going to want your book for. I mean, you may want an ebook cover, a paperback cover, a hardback cover, an audiobook version of your cover. Depends on which ones you want. Maybe you want all of those, even if you're not sure you're going to do them all. And also, again, be prepared to pay an extra $100. Just throw them a bone. You'll only be paying them like $300, and they're probably not going to get the full amount anyway. So this is a really inexpensive way to do it. So don't be a cheapskate. Be okay with paying an extra $100 above what the contest is. But again, delineate all this information in the brief when you hold your contest. And then finally, make sure you get all the master files. And that's not just the final Photoshop file. You want all the images that went into that file. You want all the fonts, and because you may need to make changes to those files later. So you want to make sure you get all of that. So you want to be very, very careful that you say everything up front in your brief so that you have everything you need in case you need to make changes. For example, in my cover, after I got these final files, I realized, I needed to change the bio. Well, if I hadn't gotten the final file, if the master files, I wouldn't have been able to do that. In addition, I needed to make tweaks because the spine didn't fit right. And I needed to make other tweaks because the cover wasn't centered properly. And also, because I'm publishing on both CreateSpace and on Ingram, their cover templates are slightly different. And I had to have a different master file for the cover for both of those formats. So it's always just safe to get all the master cover and make sure that they honor, if you say, I do not want paid imagery, make sure they honor that, or that they pay for the imagery for you, because a lot of these designers will get non-royalty free images. So keep in mind that you need to state that specifically, that you want royalty free images unless you're willing to pay for images above the contest design. So that is all about the cover. In a moment, I'm going to be telling you about the design interior, but before we do that, here is a quick commercial break. Attention authors, speakers, and coaches. Does your website attract nothing but crickets and tire kickers? Then you might be committing one of the 5 deadly mistakes of homepage design. Home Sweet Homepage, How to Fix the 5 Deadly Mistakes that authors, speakers, and coaches make with their website's homepage, will help you clear the crickets, repel the tire kickers, and start attracting the right kind of traffic that will convert to readers, clients, and speaking opportunities. Go to bookmarketingclub.com/homepage book right now and pre-order your copy for only 99 cents and receive $47 worth of free gifts. This offer ends as soon as the book launches on May 18th. So go now and pre-order yours by May 17th. Hello and welcome back to The Author Switch, the podcast dedicated to helping aspiring and new authors turn on the author switch to success in their minds. I'm your host, Carma Spence, author of the best-selling and award-winning book, Public Speaking Superpowers, as well as the now in pre-order 2nd edition of Home Sweet Homepage. Now, before the break, I was talking about how to get your book cover design, an awesome book cover design. And now I'm going to go into how to get your awesome interior design. All this good stuff on the interior. So again, I'm going to be sharing my screen because I've got a few slides to kind of walk you through this process of interior design. Now, I have gone into a lot of this in great detail, at least the editing and proofing. I talk about it in great detail in episode 7 of this podcast, which aired in January. But here's the basic flow. First, once you've done with the manuscript, you edit it yourself. Then you have an editor edit it. And then you edit yourself again. Then once you're confident that that manuscript is as clean as possible, then you have it designed. That's step 4. Then when you get it back from the designer, you have it proofed. You proof it yourself. And then you have it proofed by a professional proofreader. And then, then you give it back to the designer, have them make all those proof, and then you proof it one more time yourself. And if you have to give it back to the designer and go back and forth a few more times until you can't find any more errors, do that. Because you want the book that's on the shelf to be as clean and free of errors as possible. And that's even more important for an indie author because there are the grammar police out there. And believe me, they are ruthless, even more ruthless to indie authors than they are to big publishers. So I highly recommend that you go through this iterative process. But now I'd like to really dive into step 4 here, which is have it designed. You have several options. The first option is to design it yourself using like a word processor like Word, which is, if you're doing just an ebook, totally do that. I mean, it's like so easy. And most ebook distributors like Kindle and Smashwords, they love it when you just give them a Word file and then they translate it into whatever. So if you're doing ebook only, totally do it by Word. You have no reason to have someone else do design for it or get fancy. No reason at all. Option number 2 is to design it yourself using fancy software like InDesign or even something like Designer, which is a cloud software. You can hire a freelancer or an agency who specialize in designing books. Or 4, you can go and use 99 Designs like I did with the cover. And there are designers on that platform that also do interior design. Now, for most of my early works, I did all the design work myself. I designed the interior, I designed the exterior, I did it all. But for Public Speaking Superpowers, I actually did have an agency do the interior, and I loved what they did. It was very good. I really enjoyed that. And then for Home Sweet Homepage, I did a 99 Designs because I just wanted to see what that would, and I am so happy with it. I'm just like ecstatic. I did have to do a little bit more back and forth with the designer because I had some problems with compatibility with Kindle and things like that, but she was great at doing it. But it's because I got a little bit fancy because some of the pages I wanted there to be a bleed, and the agency I'd used with Public Speaking Superpowers didn't do that. They had a flat fee. They did a very bare bones. You had to choose a template, and the only fancy they got was they would use my fonts. Otherwise, that's it. Whereas working with 99 Designs, I was able to get a little bit more fancy. So I have facing pages that have a nice bleed, and it looks really nice. I really like that. So the way it worked with the interior design, it was very similar to the cover. You hold a contest, a bunch of people came in with their different ideas. It wasn't as bright and exciting and visual as it was with the cover because, again, this is just words. But I did really enjoy the process. And, you're a writer. Do the writing, do the business building. Have the designers do this. Hire this stuff out. If you've got the budget, hire this out. Like I said, there are pluses and minuses to doing it yourself or hiring it out. And the reason I made the decisions I made were usually because of time and money. But honestly, as long as I've got the money, I would hire this stuff out. As much fun as I have with designing, I'd much rather, when it comes to launching a book, I'd much rather spend my time doing the marketing because that is really where I'm going to get my message out and I'm going to get more return on the investment of my time. So I'd much rather hire out the design to people who are way more brilliant at design than I am. For me, I'm just a hobbyist. I'm not brilliant at this. This is not what I do every day, whereas these designers do. And by the way, if you do go to bookmarketingclub.com/homepage book, go to the bottom of the page. There's a link to meet the designers. Check out their portfolios. There's a link to both the cover and the interior designers. They are brilliant young designers. Check out their work. I'm so happy with the work they did for Home Sweet Homepage. Well, we're coming up on the finish line for the Authorneer's journey. Next episode, which will be episode 15, which will be in the second half of May, we'll be talking about the publishing, which will be when you actually get to have the book in your hand, which is exciting. It doesn't matter this could be your first book or your 10 millionth book. It's exciting every time. I'm sorry, or Or maybe if it's your 10-month book, it isn't as exciting. I wonder, it'd be interesting to talk to an author who had published that many books to see if it's just as exciting that many times. This is my 6th book now. I'm still excited. Anyway, next episode, which will be in the first half of May, I'll be talking to Andy Cabasso, who is with a company called Postaga. And it's a software that helps you find guest posting and guest podcasting opportunities. It's a really cool software, and he kind of walks us through how you use it. It's very, very cool. I hope you tune in. Until then, this is your host, Carma Spence, signing off. Ciao.
The Author Switch at authorswitch.com.